Business Focus with Kudzie, Sharara on the Champions League Breakfast.
And welcome to Business Focus. We discuss what's happening in the world of business right here on Capitalk every single day. Good morning to you, Kudzie. How are you today?
Good morning, Tinashe. Good morning, Shumba. Good morning, everyone.
Great. So, pani chunu one chandakasanga nacho ni zuro Kudzie, but you know what? I'm still learning, and you're taking me through the ropes. And asinakatadza unyatsonzwisisa. But I want a clarity from you. Yesterday, I saw the pensions fund report came out yesterday. Anything of interest that you saw around that? I need to hear from you.
Yeah, thank you, Tinashe. Yeah, I think the pension fund reports for the first quarter. In fact, there are about 3 reports that came out from IPEC. That's the regulator of the pension funds and the insurance sector. That's the Insurance Pension Commission. Yeah, you asked what caught my eye from those reports, and I think it's to do with the number of pension funds that have applied for dissolution, meaning that they are saying, okay, we are going to stop these pension funds. We will distribute everything to our policy holders. So nearly 40% of the pension funds that we have in Zimbabwe, nearly 40%, are earmarked for dissolution.
Hey.
So yeah, and this is according to IPEC, and these are like about 372 pension funds that have applied, I guess, for dissolution, and so the country as a whole had about when they look at the registered funds. There are about 966 registered funds, of which 481 are active. And then you've got these 372 that are looking for earmarked for dissolution. What it basically means is that all these people who had these pension funds, and these pension funds have earmarked for dissolution, which means all these people will no longer have these particular pension funds unless they were also they were also under the NASA one. And if they were not part of the NASA one, then it means that they won't have pension funds.
Benefit.
No, they so for example, if they've got assets that they own, like buildings or whatever assets that they own, they will sell these assets and distribute the money to the policy holders. So they've got mechanisms that they do it, obviously with the supervision of IPEC. However, IPEC has said, okay, hold on. We are in the middle of making sure that those who lost out during the 2009 era, the pre-2009 era, you remember, there is actually a scheme, a compensation scheme, pension compensation scheme for the pre-2009 era, where pension funds are supposed to compensate policy holders. And now these pension funds are now saying, no, we want to dissolve. And I think IPEC said, okay, hold on. We are not going to allow you to do that until we finalize the issue of compensation. Timbonat first compensation yaendwa zvakanaka here tozoti mochita madissolution yenyaya. So you find out kuti probably for me, when I was looking at that, I think it suggests that some pension funds might have tried to use dissolution as an escape route so that they don't meet the requirements this compensation scheme. So they use this. So there are a number of reasons why a pension fund might decide to go under dissolution. For example, maybe the company is no longer in existence. So it's a company yanga to operate in Zimbabwe in each contributor, ichibatsira vashandi vayo contributor pension funds to run a pension fund, but this company is no longer in operation. It closed down maybe some years ago, and now they're saying we can't continue with this pension fund. So that could be one of the reasons why they are deciding to do this. Another one could be a company that is actually in existence now, but he's saying isusu tazvitadza zvekuramba tichibatsirana nevashandi vedu to contribute to this particular pension fund. So zvanga zvakaipei kuti titengese maassets acho aripo togowana zviripo, mavashandi policy holders ogowana zviripo. So that could be another reason.
Hapana here possibility yokuti zvipande.
Those IPEC probably IPEC is saying no, there's this chipande pre-2009 compensation scheme. Because apparently out of more than 1,000 pension schemes, they were asked by IPEC to plans. How are you going to compensate policyholders for the pre-2009 era? How are you going to compensate? And only one has come up with a scheme that was approved by IPEC. Only one out of more than 1,000. Only one came up with a scheme. So IPEC has said, okay, we are going to take some of you through criminal procedures. Takutoendesana kumacourts kuti muite comply with the mitemo yenyika yakasetwa as the regulator. So yeah, that's for me. But for me, I was worried by that number of all these pension funds. You know, I'm so much about people not having what we call old age poverty.
Yeah.
Saka unongotombona mukana wakuti unge une pension fund which contributor. You know, we'd want you to pauno retire, you live comfortably. But now that these are some of the things that are now happening where these pension
funds... Is it
funds,
compulsory in Zimbabwe that if you are formally employed, you need to have a pension fund?
NASA.
Okay.
The NASA one.
The NASA one.
It's
compulsory.
It's compulsory for anyone are formally employed. Ukatona uchinzi uri formally employed wasainiswa zvimapepa. Kona usiri pa NASA bvunza employer wako kuti ndiripo here apa. But of course there is also the informal sector, which is not they are not on the NASA one. Although NASA for years has been talking about coming up with a scheme that can also accommodate those who are in the informal sector. But cannot formally employed, it should be compulsory for you to be on the NASA one.
Someone coming up on WhatsApp and says that what can pension funds do to remain afloat or to preserve value for pensioners' contributions?
Yeah, it's about it's also so it's if you look at that commission of inquiry yakaitwa, it showed us how money or pension funds money was destroyed during the hyperinflation era. Zvimwe zvacho zvanga zviri to do with the operating environment. So some blame was put on government in terms of how it was managing the economy at that time. Some blame was put on IPEC itself in terms of supervision and other things. Some blame was also put on these pension funds in terms of how also they were managing them. So, but to answer the question, it's about the economy also plays a part. But what pension funds do is that when they take your contributions, they must invest them somewhere where the funds are, one, preserved, two, they actually gain. You know, so for example, you can see pension funds, they are the major contributors or players on the Zimbabwe Stock Exchange and the Victoria Falls Stock Exchange. They invest in these listed companies. So that's what they do. Some of them, they invest in properties. Most of these properties that we see in the CBD, most of them, they actually belong to pension funds. Yeah, so you find out that at some point, because when a pension fund, a company which runs a pension fund, at not my shareholders, not my policy holders. So you find kuti pane time yekuti ma shareholders vaitora mamwe ma assets anofanira kunge asiri avo anofanira kunge asiri avo ivo ma shareholders ari ema policy holders vobva vamatransfer vomaisa kuma shareholders. Imi pamunozayama kuti ko isusu taicontributor for years to this pension fund, munochidza no ma assets ema pension fund ema policy holders ndeaya. And yet tiri kuona kuti iyo company yacho iri kurana pension fund yaya as ma shareholders atove ne more assets than the policy holders, which was a misnomer which they are trying to correct now to make sure that apana a transfer of assets that belong to policy holders dzinongoendeswa kuma shareholders. So these are some of the things. So when you make your contribution, the pension fund must invest into various assets. Kunema listed equities like on the stock market, kunema properties that they can invest in. These days kwanema non-listed equities. For example, you invest in a company that is not listed on a stock market. You can also, your pension fund can even invest in a solar plant. For example, kunema policy funds aka invest into that. Anti ku Muzarabani tinotaura nezvegas. They are Invictus. gas and oil, that's exploring for gas and oil. In fact, they've since discovered kune ma-pension funds akato-investa into that. Ma-pension fund are under inonzi Mangwana Capital. They invested in that. Zoti pachazotanga kuputika gas ivo vakato-investa as pension funds.
But what's your take on this concern from one of the listeners who says that most of these pension funds have assets, but what they are lacking is management? My heart always bleeds whenever I hear struggles for the pensioners. Is it possible though to transfer funds to more organized organizations like NASA than to dissolve?
Yeah, I'm not an expert in that field, whether what is right to do in this case. But there is a regulator that is there that can then you can take your pension fund. Pano toitwa ma meetings anoitwa ma schemes of arrangement until everything is finalized, and there is a regulator that is there. So it tries as much as it can to protect the policy holders, so that they are not shortchanged by the fund managers. So yeah, IPEC is there to make sure that everything is done according to the book. And you must have my reasons and now you can go ahead and this is the reason why we are doing this. These are the reasons why I've reached this decision, and everything is done according to the book. The good thing is that the commissioner who is there at the moment was once a player in the insurance sector. So she understands how things are done in the insurance sector. So now it's like you're sending I'm not saying she's a thief, but you're sending a in charge yampurisa wedzimwe mbava anoziva matricks ese amunogona kuita. So I think which is a good thing.
So Kudzie, we are going to make it official here to ask you to send an invitation to IPEC to come through, and because my questions are kuya pa WhatsApp. I know some of them are beyond you.
They are beyond me, yes.
Yeah, so maybe if we can invite them to come through.
I know what I'm doing. Vanorova comes ikoko varotozvinzwira Mr. Lloyd Gumbo hanzi uyai ma-questions akawanda panapa tina chatonoti ini ndingaomesera Kudzie ndikamupa ma-questions ari kubvunza. So it will be good. It will be good for you to come and answer some of these questions.
Yeah, great.
The platform is there for you.
Yeah, and remember we had invited Zimra. They will be with us next week.
Next week, yeah.
Next week they are coming here, so to iron out on the issues that we were talking about the other time. Yes. All right, let's move on to other things today. Kudzie, let's look at the Zimbabwe Stock Exchange, the performance, considering the second day into the week now.
Thank you, Tinashe. So we continue to see the ZSE pumping. It's recording good gains. It's still on an upward trajectory. And this morning when I was coming here, I saw anyway. Let me talking about how it performed yesterday. So the All Share Index was up by 2.46%. Top 10 Index slowing down a bit, up by 1.83%. And then you've got your medium cap. This is where the money is now flowing, because you know how the market works. Kune announce my leading counters like your top 10 index. Do ana Delta ana Econet do unotanga kumove ikoko. Once I move on, chinenge chakupisa ichi nditi, they'll start selling and buying, looking for other companies that have got potential. So I think this is what we are now seeing, where you see your top 10 index going up by just 1.83%, because people are now saying then they start looking for others that have not yet moved. So your medium cap counters, that's where the money is going, up by 3.45% on average. But your top 5 risers, you've got your Pro Plastics up by 15%, TSL another 15%, Dairyboard up 15%. I missed that one yesterday. I wanted to buy it, but my broker, I didn't see a broker's note. It means he didn't buy for me. CFI also up by 14.99%, ZB up by 14.86%. Then you had some that were coming off. Wheeldale, the biggest loser, the 5.37% gain, drop rather. Tanganda also shedding 3.46%. Star Africa easing 3.08%. Art dropping 0.41%, and Ariston down by 0.07%. Most of the funds that were invested went into Delta, about 9.5 million ZIG going into Delta. OK Zimbabwe, 1.9 million. AFDIS, 1.9 million. And then Econet and CBZ also getting a sizable chunk of the funds that were invested. And I was saying that in the morning when I was home, I saw on Twitter, someone was asking to say, no, numbers don't lie. The market doesn't lie. if we are seeing all these gains on the Zimbabwe Stock Exchange, where is this money coming from? And from me, I would hazard to say, because of the limited convertibility of ZiG into US dollars. So if you are companies or corporates or individuals who are ZiG rich, who have got balances that are now bulging because with ZiG, and they are failing to convert them into US dollars. Because I heard some corporates executives are saying that even bankers, they are also saying, confirming the same, to say of the demand that is there, they are only meeting between 10 to 20% of the demand. So it's like Tinashe coming and saying, I want $100, and the banking saying, I can only give you $20 in US dollars. So cash rich or ZiG rich corporates are probably the ones now that are going to the market and trying to look for value into the market. So I think that's what's pushing the market. There are a few companies that have been accepting ZiG, but now their bank balances are now full of this ZiG, which they are failing to use because they are limited use cases for ZiG. You can pay for certain things, but some things you can't pay for ZiG. You want to bring in raw materials from outside the country. The US dollars that you're getting from your bank is limited. You're not getting as much as you'd want. So this is where this ZiG is now looking for to preserve value. What else can you do? You can buy shares, for example. You can buy property, as long as that platform, they allow you to pay in ZiG. So I think that's what's driving the ZSC. And then so that's the ZSC. It continues to perform quite well. I don't know whether it will slow down soon or what. It depends on how authorities will react to this, and it also depends on if my theory is right. It also depends on the increased availability of US dollars on the market. One banker was also telling me that they have seen a decrease in the amount of US dollars that the Reserve Bank has been selling into the market, into the willing buyer, willing seller. So these are all the dynamics that can then result in what we are seeing on the stock market.
Okay. And can you record these programs with Kudzie? Because sometimes I miss them out in shift Tanga early. All you need to do is to go through on our Facebook page, Capi Talk 100.4 FM. There is a post that is always there daily.
And YouTube.
To do with Business Focus. You click a link there, it will take you to YouTube.
Yes, there is. So you can find it on Facebook and also on YouTube.
Yeah, daily Business Focus episodes. You find them daily using those links that we've given you. Let's look at any corporate action updates that we can get.
Yeah, we are seeing yesterday there were a couple of corporate actions. One announcement that was made is obviously, which is an interesting one, that's the money that is NMB got about 10 million, secured a $10 million loan from I think it's a British International Investments, which is from the which is UK's development finance arm, where NMB got about $10 million, and this money is earmarked for 70% of that money is earmarked for the agricultural exporters, and then the balance of 30% will support sustainable projects such as green energy for farms. So this one is interesting. One thing is interesting there. I've seen banks that have been going out there to get lines of credit, but most of these banks are getting lines of credit that are targeted to be given to exporters, right? Which is a good thing. And one of the reasons why they're targeting the exporters, they know kuti Tinashe akazoexporta maorange ake anokwanisa kubhadhara chikwereti chauya chiri chema-US. But tikapa Kudzie ane huku dzake dzemazai ake anomatengesa maybe in Zim dollars, anomatengesa muno muZimbabwe. Hatizivi kuti mutemo ichachinja rini. President recently vakataura kuti ndogona kungoti in 2 years time todzokera kumono currency. So mabanks ari kuprefer kupa maloans kune vanoexporta, because they know kuti uyu acharamba achingo, whether currency dzachinja muno muZimbabwe, whether whatever is being used in Zimbabwe, uyu acharamba achienda ma-dollars ekuti akwanise kubhadhara chikwereti. So you find CBZ recently went and got $80 million. It's targeted for the exporters. NMB has got about $57 million that it got before this $10 million. Again, it's targeted for exporters. Now the question is, koma companies asinga export, how are they being catered for in terms of these loans if all banks are going out there to get loans that support the exporters? And interestingly, there was one, I think there is one of our listeners who reached out on Facebook and said, currency mangamchiti Zimbabwe US dollar is conducive, and can you explain further in terms of what exactly were you saying? And one thing that I would want to say in terms of use of the US dollar, yes, rakanaka, rene stability and everything, but rene ma limitations. One good limitation that I can talk about, Tinashe, someone in South Africa and produce a same product as you, and equipment is modern just as you. Unazo quality and everything unazo, but when your bank goes out to get a loan outside Zim, loan ya inosvika muZimbabwe muno yatove cost here about 11%. Bank risati raisawo profit yaro, so you are getting a loan iruma 15%. But ari South Africa, ari Zambia is probably getting the same loan that you are getting. Mese munotowana ma 10 million, mese mune equipment and everything zvakafanana, mese munopiwa ma 10 million. But uyo ari South Africa or Zambia, maybe ari kuwana loan yake at 5%. Iwo yako, because Zimbabwe ine ma issues ayo, uri kuwana loan yako at 15%. Do you think mukazoya any product a new market in Dopanoina? And we are seeing those products coming into Zimbabwe. True. So that is another reason why the US dollar is not we are not comfortable. Otherwise, they are mazigi to know my interest rates they do particularly comfortable now, but also that they help in the growth of the economy and also teach Kwansaku stabilizer using the same interest rates. Okay,
just briefly before the news at 8, Anzi guys, tomorrow don't forget we are calling a CEO. Remember, CEO.
We promised.
We'll let you know tomorrow morning who will be our guest for tomorrow. Either they walk into the studio or we talk to them over the phone.
Yeah, and I'm getting a report, a message here saying the IPA commissioner is ready to come. We'll just agree on the logistics. So we'll talk to them.
For pension funds.
Yes, for pension funds. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, Kudzie. We get to hear from you tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you, Tinashe.
Business Focus with Kudzie Sharara on the Champions League Breakfast.